Hello. Today I'm doing this quick little video just to walk you through that Excel assignment. It seems like a number of people are having trouble, and I just wanted to just assure you that you're probably doing it okay. So let's just walk through it together. This video will go over 4 different steps. We're going to do the bond issue pricing first. The second thing is the effective interest amortization table. Then we'll do the journal entries, and the last thing we'll do, the fourth thing, will be the straight line amortization. Okay, so let's start with bond issue pricing. Okay, so using scenario 1, we have a face value of $800,000 and the given stated rate is 6%. We have a maturity of 6 years and there are 2 payments per year. We know the market rate is 4%. Notice this little bit of comment in red. We are going to use the stated rate to get the interest payment, and you're going to use the market rate to get interest expense. Okay, so let's do interest payment together. I'm going to simply multiply this times the stated rate divided by 2. Okay, so now that I have the payment and I have the future value, the face value, what we're going to pay back. Now I'm going to do the present value, and that'll give us issue price. So go to formulas. I know I recently used PV, so I'm going to plug in the rate. Now remember, this is going to be the market rate divided by 2. Number of periods is going to be equal to the number of years times our compounding periods or payment periods. Okay, and when I get ready to do the payment, I'm going to put a negative sign first and then click on this cell. Future value is also going to be a negative sign, and I'll put the principal amount there. The type I'm going to leave blank. It's an ordinary. You could put a 0 in if you wanted to. That's rounded to 884603. All right, so let's go to step 2, which is create the amortization table. I've gone ahead and put in some headings, and I'm going to show you how to set this up. Okay, to bring over my beginning carrying value, I'm going to put an equal sign here. I'm going to click on my bond issue price, and I'm going to hit the number, the F4 key, F4, and that puts those dollar signs there, keeps that as a stationary cell. Okay, next thing, interest expense. So remember what we set up here. Interest expense comes from the market rate. So I'm going to do an equals. I'm looking at my beginning carrying value times. I'm going to take my market rate divided by 2. And let's see, do I want to make any of this stationary? Well, as I drag down this through the amortization table, the D14, I do want that to change, but the B5/over2, that needs to be stationary. So I'm going to hit my F4 button again, and that takes care of that issue. Next thing, payment. This is written on the bond, and I have no choice but to pay it. And we already computed it up here as $24,000 every 6 months. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and make this a stationary cell as well. Get those dollar signs in there. What this is the difference between these two amounts. So I'm going to just do this. And that ends up being that. Now my ending carrying value is going to be my beginning, and I'm going to subtract my amortization. All right, and now I'm going to do an equals, and my ending becomes my beginning. And I'm going to drag this with that little handle in the bottom right corner, and those will fill in a minute. This interest expense, I'm going to drag that one. And I guess I could do all these together, dragging that handle down. And isn't it nice when you click on this and you see that at the end of period 12, we are down to $800,000 as a carrying value. So that can assure you that you've done it correctly. Okay, so that was step 2. Let's get ready for step 3, journal entries. Okay, our first journal entry is the issuance, and I do have a typo there. Oops, sorry. But we'll see that we have cash coming in, and that is the bond issue price. So you can go ahead and click on that cell. Bonds payable, you're going to always put that in at its maturity value, 800,000, the total amount of principal, and the premium is the difference between those two. If we need an extra credit, it's premium. If we need a debit, then we have a discount situation. All right, so let's move forward. The next journal entry is the first payment. What happens at the end of period 1? We have to mail out checks, $24,000 worth of checks. So how are we going to record that? This is how. Interest expense, I'm going to take it directly from my amortization table. It is right here, and I'm going to just then put it in this cell. The payment I take straight from here, and the premium on the amortization also straight from the table. You could also double check to make sure these numbers work out, that all our debits equal credits, and they do. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing for period 6, and I see that our interest expense is now 17,036, and the payment is always the same, and the premium on bonds payable is being reduced by 6,964. Okay, now key thing here, why are we doing this? We are recording interest expense. The interest expense, the actual cost to the company, is at the annual rate. So on the day that we issue, we do the accounting as, taking into account this discount or premium. We don't change when the interest rate changes again. We don't mark changes in our amortization table unless we're doing what's called fair value accounting, and I'm not going to get into that here. All right, so that's it for your journal entries, those 3. And so our last thing to do is do the straight line amortization table. All I did was copy and paste the amortization table from above, and I'm going to make changes to do the straight line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take away this column, and I'm going to take away. In order to do straight line, what you need to do is find your premium or discount and divide it by the number of periods. So to start with, we have bond issue price of 884,603. We subtract out the principal amount, the 800,000. The amount of the premium is 84603, and notice that is actually what we had in our first journal entry. And so we've got it here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take that number and I'm going to divide it by 12, number of periods. And so straight line amortization of this premium will be this amount. So what I'm going to do is put in click on that, and I'm going to hit F4 again, make that stationary. All right, so it'll be the same every single time. All right, so the payment always is $24,000. Well, interest expense is the difference between those two. So just going to simply do this. I'm going to drag this down, and so that ends up being there. I'll put in the formula for the ending carrying value. It's similar to what it was before. I guess I didn't have to erase this row. Should have left it as it was. And I'm just going to drag this one down, and everything's going to fill over here. And again, it all comes out to 800,000. So looks like we did it. And everything's straight line. Our interest expense does not change, even though our carrying value does. That's one of the reasons GAAP prefers the effective interest method.